join us right now, Mr. Bobby Skinner, Larry Smith, also Mr. Glenn Parker. Mr. Gary Myers and Doug Atis. Mr. Eric Kennedy. It is Jordan Raanan. With number 56 on the list, number one in our hearts as far as cornerbacks go for the New York Giants, Mr. Mark Collins. All right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. And yes, I just keep playing with the intro until we find the one that we're going to use permanently. But I actually kind of like that one.
Give credit where credit's due. It's your family that's doing that.
It is. My daughter Amber has done a great job. She stayed up. She sent that to me at 4:35 this morning when she finished it.
Amber has got way better skills than 100%. You and I at this stuff. So keep 100%. Her on the payroll.
100%. So again, with me as always, senior editor, Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. Eric, so training camp has started, and I made the thumbnail on purpose to show me holding a plate of crow, and I did it not because I didn't really make it, like a lot of other people, just definitively saying I'm a doctor and here's what I say. But I did say he was going to be on a pup. I felt there was no way that Malik Nabers would not be on the pup. Not only is he not on the pup, which we covered on Tuesday, but the dude has actually practiced some. Now, there's to degrees, but again, that is so far ahead of where you and I, and for me specifically, I'll just speak for me, where I thought it would be. I felt it was apropos that I do a little play to crow, and I take it because I don't need to be right on some things. I'm happy to be wrong in this one, and I'm more than happy to say, yeah, that one, man, he has shocked me. So first off, good morning, bud.
Good morning. And again, I'm just glad he's practicing. He's not doing the team drills, but we'll get to do it. We're going to have Jordan Raanan on soon from ESPN. He's going to be on, I think, at 10:15-ish, I think.
Yes, 10:15.
10:15-ish. So we'll get his input from what he's seeing on the ground in, I was going to say Albany, nice. In West Virginia, in Greenbrier. Yeah, it's been, so we've had 3 days of practice, and the big story, and it is a huge story, is Malik Nabers is ahead of schedule to us, the fan base. The big drop reveal by Joe Shane on the first day of practice when he had a press conference in the morning was he said he'd been running routes and doing these types of drills before camp, which was huge. So this wasn't like even the first time he's been doing this. And then when the clips came out, look, first of all, you and I, even the optimists among us, didn't think he would be doing the stuff he's doing already. So the fact that he's already out there running on, it's just on air. So people just know what he's doing. He's not lining up against the defense. He's not doing anything where people are putting hands on him yet. But he is doing individual drills and what they call on-air drills, which means when the offense lines up and their formation, the defense isn't lining up against them, and he's just running. But what was really good for me to see, and I think others, was how aggressively he was running. He didn't look like he was holding back. He was cutting pretty sharply. He wasn't being ginger with it at all. It looked really good. And then he came back the very next day, did it again. He did not practice yesterday. Cy had a very interesting tweet yesterday, and as you smartly brought up in our last show, Cy runs his own gyms, is very involved in fitness, and because of that, he's involved with people that are probably rehabbing and all that too. And he tweeted out this morning that it's a smart plan to have him do 2 days on, 1 day off, and that looks like what they did the first 2 days. And Harbaugh said yesterday that was part of the plan to have yesterday off. It'll be interesting to see if he practices today because they do have tomorrow off. So Sunday is going to be one of the 3 days they only have off this whole summer. And so they've got 4 days in a row, 1 day off, and then they're going to be like going full bore again. So I would think he would practice today, but we'll see.
I mean, it's huge if you think about it, right? Like, first off, I was wondering if anybody was going to make a comment on that. It was a Friday off because under Dayball, Neighbors seem to take Fridays off a lot. And I was waiting for someone to say that. I'm like, okay, 2 days practice after everybody thought he might not even be available to be in any kind of a practice for weeks, if not maybe more months, is huge. And you do need to manage that. Like, you don't want swelling to come, because that's the big thing that'll slow you down. If he has swelling, then it might be, it's not 1 day, it could be 2, 3, 4 days. They got to get the swelling back down. And then that continually, then after, if you do it enough, that becomes a problem. You got to manage the rest of the time. I think the fact that they said they had a plan before, and I used to joke and say, that sounds great, except for none of us know what the plan is. I think you're now seeing it, and he is way ahead of what I thought. And the comments about him running routes, it makes the comments about the softball game sound really stupid now. And I'm, again, it's what it appeared, but now I'm with you. I clearly saw something that didn't mean something beyond that moment. And that's my bad. I'll take that.
Well, the problem is this, John, is the media has gotten so bad at reporting things and doing investigative work, and the faith in the media has gotten so bad that the gap has been filled by people who come on social media, and I would call them quasi pundits. I don't want to even call them pundits, but they'll put out their opinions out there. And so you even hear these doctors with their Twitter accounts. And the thing is that these things start to get a life of their own. And it's like what I and Matt Sytak on Giants.com was saying. It's like, where is this coming from? And Malik Nabers, two things with Malik Nabers when he spoke to the press this week. One, you really see that guy smile, and he was smiling, which to me, that was a really, really good sign. The fact that Malik Nabers is smiling should tell us that he thinks he's doing pretty well. The other was he kind of let the press have it a little bit during the press conference. He was kind of like, I don't know where you guys are getting this. I don't know where you guys are getting when I had the second surgery. That was wrong. I don't know. He was kind of like very dismissive with them. And so part of this is, and I think it's a lesson for all of us moving forward, is just be careful of what you're listening to on social media and where it's coming from, and then ask, where is that person getting that information? Because sometimes you have to wonder, like, are they just making this up, or are they just trying to get clicks? Right. And that's kind of what we ran into with Malik. It kind of became a life of its own. It was like, where is this even coming from? So, and the thing with, when you start reading into things like a softball game and stuff like that, that's where it gets, to me, it gets a little bit dangerous. But the good news is he practiced. He went out there. I've got a lot of like tidbits that I want to react to. So when Jordan comes on, we'll stop. But there were a lot of good things in the first 3 days. To set this up, I just want to, again, emphasize with everybody out there, they are not in pads yet. So, and everyone's like, well, when are they going to get in pads? As other people have smartly pointed out on BBI, the CBA prevents teams from starting off in pads from the get-go. You have to sort of gracefully, and I think somebody said it was 5 days. So we're going to see them in pads probably next week. They probably have to go one more day and not in pads. But so they are not hitting with pads on yet. So take it with a grain of salt. Anything with line play, anything where you think there's something physical. And I'll give you one example. Like, for instance, yesterday, Devin Singletary supposedly broke off this huge long run. It might have been even like a 70-yard run, because he got through the line of scrimmage and he was off to the races. A couple of people who saw it said, well, we're not really sure if he would have gotten tackled in the hole. And people who've been at training camp know what I'm talking about. The running backs are taught to keep running even in that situation. So would it have been a 70-yard run? We don't know. That's the kind of thing, because there's no hitting right now.
Right.
That's the kind of thing you got to take with a grain. So anything like when you see running plays, it's always kind of like, yeah, but if they were hitting each other, would it really have been that big a run? So that's the kind of thing you got to be a little bit careful right now. But we can track how the quarterback is doing, how the receivers are doing, how people are moving, how people are breaking up passes, that kind of thing. So we have a lot. And then pecking order, who's starting, who's playing. Oh, yes, we have Jordan on. So
So we
That's a
could
good stopping spot.
Yeah, we could stop there. I'll bring him on real quick as soon as I see that he's set to go. All right, let's throw him up on the stage. He's moving his camera around. He's getting himself set. He's looking pretty. Let's get him on the stage. There he is right now.
There he is.
All right, joining us right now from ESPN, Mr. Jordan Raanan. Jordan, thank you for taking a few moments in the morning, at the beginning of training camp. I appreciate your willingness. First off, I want to throw it out here real quick. You've been covering the Giants for a while, and I know it's easy. I know it's easy when there's a change of coaches, but you were there when Daboll's piece took over, and then now Harbaugh's. How does this camp feel different in year one under Harbaugh than year one under Daboll, or even year one under Joe Judge?
With Daboll and Judge, you're talking about first-time head coaches, right?
Right.
With John Harbaugh, he steps into the room and automatically has legitimacy, right? He's a Super Bowl champion as a head coach. I mean, those other guys have won Super Bowls, but they were lower-level assistants. So when he says something and he has a way, I think it holds a little more clout. And you're like, okay, he has a track record. Like, let's just say for the kickers for a second. You're like, oh, 2 undrafted kickers, basically. Ben Sauls from last year, Dominic Zvada from this year. That seems like a terrible approach, right? But you're like, oh, well, you know what? John Harbaugh gets the benefit of the doubt. He's had a track record of success with kickers. Special teams, his area of expertise. You're willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. So I think that's the big thing is when he talks, and you hear it from the players too. When he talks to them, it's like there's a belief in it because there's something to back it up saying, all right, if we do it his way, we know that, it has already shown it can be successful. So there's a legitimacy to his program. I think that wasn't there before. Before it was like, okay, let's see what Brian Daboll is going to do and how he's like, tweaking things as he goes along because he's learning. Same with Joe Judge and all these other first-time head coaches. So, and also practices if you show up to a practice, they do like special teams and stuff and individual drills at the beginning. Once they get into live drills, that's it. They just go live drills nonstop, basically the end of practice. By the time they do the full practice, like when they're the maximum practice, like the 2.5 hours, they might have practices with over 100 plays of live drills, 7-on-7 and 11-on-11, which is unheard of from what I've seen.
Wow.
Jordan, I was going to say I know this is kind of a strange question, but over the years, I've seen Daboll and Judge and other kind of be somewhat combative with you and other reporters covering the team at times almost, but Harbaugh seems a little bit more comfortable in his skin and at ease. Am I reading too much into that or do you?
I don't know. Did you watch yesterday?
I saw parts of yesterday, not the whole thing. I saw parts of it.
He was definitely you could tell the sloppiness of practice. John Harbaugh was not happy after practice. So
no, I'm in with you. I'm sorry. That's interesting too.
No,
but
I know. I'm saying
okay.
So therefore, like Dan Duggan asked him a question, like what happened at like one of these drills because it looked like he either the clock ran out on him on like a red zone or a 2-minute drill, or he just told him to get off the field after penalty, whatever it was.
He was just like,
I don't remember. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure you don't remember it. And he was just like, what's with all these vague questions? Like you could see a little crack. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he knows how to handle himself, but this is a different beast than he's ever had. So he's probably going to have more criticism, more crazy stuff arise that he's never seen. But I've had conversations with him about this. He understands that this is all just talk. It's part of the hype and it's part of the machine. And in the end, and that's why I really don't think he stresses himself. Like Brian Daboll stressed himself. The narratives were like that was half his day is, massaging the narratives and worrying about the narratives and what everyone's going to think. John Harbaugh doesn't really care about that. He really doesn't. He knows this is all just entertainment business. It's all part of the entertainment and the hype. And so he doesn't really care all this stuff that's being said about his team, good or bad. And he knows, and he's only worried about what his message is to his team. That to me is the biggest difference.
Well, that's important because that's kind of what I was getting at, but you said it much more eloquently. So yeah, so it just seems like he's not as bothered as much by the outside noise right now. He knows it is outside noise. and he's got to deliver. And it, like you said, Dable, and again, I'm not trying to knock Dable, but just seemed that Dable was a little bit more, had more of a thin skin with stuff like
No,
that.
it's a fair knock because they worried about that way too much. And it bled into their decisions. Like that's not going to happen with John Harbaugh.
Okay.
Right.
Like his decisions are not going to be guided by outside criticism of any player, coach decision. Like there's just no way that he knows better than that. Trust your conviction, worry about the team, all the other stuff he knows. He's I've had literally had this exact conversation. All the other stuff will take care of itself. Just win games.
So to ask an obvious question, and I made the thumbnail for this episode that has me holding a plate of crow because I definitively stated I can't see any way that Malik Nabers is not on the PUP list to start this. How surprised are you, number one, that he's actually practicing? Yeah. So how do you feel about how surprised was this, and how much did the Giants
the start of training camp?
Surprise?
Yeah, no, come on. I there's nobody who thought that Malik Nabers was really going to be like legitimately thought at least start on PUP. There's no starting on PUP in training camp is no big deal. You could be on PUP for 2 days and then work on the side, do some running with the trainer. You could be activated at any point. Now, the reason it's so important and such a big thing is once you're off PUP, you can then run drills, even like running routes in individual drills. You can't do that if you're on PUP, right?
Right.
You can't do anything basically with your teammates. This now allows them at least to throw with Jackson Dart, like even after practice, the two of them the first day are sitting there, throwing after practice. It's an extremely important time on task for those two. Because think about it. They had, and this is what Dart said, 1 week and, 23, and 1 week and 1 quarter is what he said, working with Jackson Dart, Malik Nabers, because they didn't work together at all last summer. Right. Russell Wilson, they were getting him ready. Malik Nabers was working exclusively with Russell Wilson and the first team. And Jackson Dart was a rookie at the time. So they don't have a lot of time working together. This now gives him 6+ weeks to get ready physically and get some work with Jackson Dart. And it's just good news. We didn't know it. I think the big thing is, and nobody had seen him run since the Brian Burns celebrity softball game, which was the end of May. It was like either May 31st, something either like that last week of May. Nobody had seen him run since then. He said he started running routes weeks ago. That's the big thing. So he's somewhere around probably July, early July-ish, maybe late-ish June. He maybe started running a little bit and doing the routes. If we knew that, maybe we, could have guessed it. But look, he didn't look good at that Brian Burns celebrity softball game, like running wise. Yeah. It was positive. I did think it was positive that he was participating. Because if there was something physically wrong, structurally wrong, he wouldn't have been participating.
Right.
So on that end, it was good, but his knee just looked super stiff. So the fact that he made that much progress, I think, just my opinion, there would have to be a setback right now for him not to be ready for week 1 at this point.
Right. Wow. Right. Nice. So it's interesting too that with that you brought that up. I mentioned that before about the fact that they really had no time last summer, and it was that leading into that Chargers game, and that's kind of it. So not only is it Dart Nabers don't have a connection, but it's a new offense anyway for everybody. So you don't even have that comfortability with the guy and say, hey, we're learning this together, but we're used to each other. You're getting used to each other and learning something new. Yeah. That's not a small order.
No, definitely. And also, like, that's another benefit of not being on the PUP list. Like, when they run install during practice, Malik Nabers could be on the field for that.
Right.
You literally can't run with the team, even if it's like half speed, quarter speed, walking through like during the practice if you're on the PUP list. So I think that probably contributed to their decision there. And let's see him get back on the field today, because he took a day off yesterday.
Right.
And I saw him walk outside. He was walking fine. It didn't look like he was, limping or anything like that. But let's just make sure he gets on the field today and continues trending in the right direction, because that's the thing. That's the big thing here. He could not feel great. Have to slow everything down. There's so many things that can happen between now and the start of the season, because he's still got, he's, let's say, 75% through like the rehab and getting back to where he needs to be. there's still a 25% that he has to go through, and it's a day-to-day thing. It could be, there could be a setback at some point. He could just not feel great. They could just want to slow it down. Like, these are all still possibilities. So if anyone tells you he's definitely playing, definitely not playing, it's impossible.
Right.
I think it's a good sign for him. A guy that normally doesn't smile, though, was smiling in his press conference too. You don't see Malik smile a lot, so I thought that was telling. Also getting lost in the shuffle a little bit because we've been so focused on Malik, and I know he seemed to be trending in the right direction in the spring and was practicing again, but Scadaboo, I mean, that looked like a horrible injury at the time, and I personally was like, oh my goodness, is he done? Is this gonna be career affecting? But it seems like Scadaboo's fine. Everyone's focused on the flip, and he basically admitted that was, he does some stupid things. But just your reaction, you've seen him in person. He's moving around all right. It seems like people who've been there at camp already have said he looks great.
Yeah, he looks fine. I mean, he does. He was never maybe the most explosive player on the field, right? So
sure.
I haven't really seen him opening it up yet in regards to, doesn't look maybe like full explosiveness yet, but he's out there. When they start drills, he's the first running back out there most of the time. Like with the 11-11 full offense, like Tyron Tracy's out there when they start with like a 2-minute drill stuff, but like he's the first option that they're using as running back right now, like at least through 3 days. And John Harbaugh said, we'll see. And, he's still learning about his team. We'll see how playing time works out. But that to me indicates they want to, like, if they have an option, he's their first choice at running back right now. And so I think that's interesting, something to at least keep an eye on. We'll see how it shakes out by the end of the summer. And they're still splitting time, him and Tracy. But it just seems like Scadaboo's more the number one workhorse guy, whereas even if it's going to be close to a split, still last year was the other way around, right? Scadaboo's a rookie,
right?
So
right.
Tracy was first, but it does always mean something to me. I know coaches downplay it. They don't just by accident fall out there. Okay, who wants to go first today? They're telling them who's first, who's with the first team, who's with the second team, who's with the third team. It matters. Like, it's not just, okay, who's up? Who wants to go out there left tackle right now? No, Andrew Thomas steps up every time with the first team offense, right? So it matters. To me, it does indicate something. And when they talk about their desire to have a physical running game, Scadaboo fits that more than Tyron Tracy. So it all seems to make sense.
We've talked to a couple of other people, some other shows and fans who have talked to us. One of the big concerns that a lot of people have is the depth at running back. The Giants have like 3 guys at the top and then a bunch of kind of, are you picking up or hearing or feeling it? The Giants are going to keep their eye out maybe for another running back if they feel they want a vet or maybe just a different piece, somebody maybe bigger or whatever that is. Have you heard anything of feeling that they might need more depth?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that they're going to keep their eye out for. They're going to see what they kind of have now, see what's out there. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if they, look at some of the veteran running backs out there. But first, I think they want to. They're still in like an evaluation process of their own team.
Sure.
I think that's a big thing here. So the fact that Scadaboo is healthy though, and there are no limitations, like he's practicing full. Like I don't think there's any pullback on his workload at all. Makes it a little less likely to happen, I think, right now.
Okay.
It seems like the story on the first few days of practice, other than Nabers, and again with the caveat that they're not in pads, which makes a big difference, is that at least for the last 2 days, the defense has been way ahead of the offense, which often is the case in training camp. But these pass rushers that the Giants are pinning their hopes on seem to be delivering. So when you see Abdul Carter is doing well, but it's also he's doing well against Andrew Thomas, that seems to say something. I mean, so it seems to me as again, on the outside, one of the stories so far again is Abdul Carter looks good, Brian Burns still looks good, Kayvon Thibodeau looks good. Arvell Reese is looking good in coverage. Is that a fair assessment to say that one of the big takeaways you've taken away for the first few days is just that the linebacking group, including the edge, has been playing really well?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's the strength of this team, right? What's the weakness? What if they've allowed 5.3 yards per carry, then it changes everything. So I think that, I think that's sort of the caveat. It's early in practice when there's no pads. It's kind of like still more of like a passing type camp. So that favors the, the edge rushers in that regard. So, but that's promising because that's the strength of this team. Now the question that needs to be answered is, can they stop the run?
Right.
Because that changes everything. If they're giving up 5 yards a carry, and every team's sitting there at 2nd and 5, you're in trouble. Like you're going to be in big trouble if you're living in that world. And but Abdul Carter having success against Andrew Thomas just makes you sit there and say, "Wow, man! If he just does what he needs to do, and works and applies himself." And John Harbaugh said consistency. Like he can be a star player in this league. That's the big question. It's not. I don't think there's any doubt. But even just look at his pressure numbers last year, the way he finished the season. If he applies himself, he will be a high-end player. The question is, it's all on him of whether it happens, and and whether he gets there and plays with the consistency that they want and does the little things and puts in the work. And we'll have to see if he does. But yeah, he looks great so far.
And anything, I know, again, really early and no pads. So we're talking, when you talk big guys, it's a little harder to get a good feel. But just some thoughts on the offensive line makeup. We know, at least at the moment, we know who the 5 starters are, minus any possibility that they might do something if they decide to move Raanan, which at this point, I kind of feel like they're probably going to ride it out.
Why I don't understand why people still think that's a thing. If he's taking every snap at left guard in the spring and now early this summer, does it make sense that they're just going to all of a sudden say, you know what? We want to make a change here. We're going to do it.
True.
That doesn't really make sense to me. I think we need to move past that. I think,
okay,
John
fair.
Runyon's their guy. Like, what are they? They're going to save money now? Like, is that?
It was more, for me personally, the more thought was everybody throws out Kayvon Thibodeau, but I kind of feel like that's in a position that it doesn't make sense to do it now based on where he is and where the contract is and how much he has played a very vocal role in this offseason of kind of being a leader. And the coaching staff has talked about him so much. He seems to be a piece that they're not going to play around with right now. The reason I keep bringing up Running is he doesn't necessarily fit the Harbaugh style of the past. Number one. Number two, he's on the last year of his contract and his cap piece. But if they needed something else, there are other teams that he might fit in really well. That's more of where I've been thinking. But it sounds like the 5 is set. So my question is from the backside of it. So guys like Falele, who's there, he's getting some time. Evan Neal seems to be way back on 3rd team. We heard a few people at camp give different reports. What have you seen from some of the backups, Azudu, Neal, Falele? Just some thoughts on those guys and where this might shake out.
Yeah.
Or is it too early?
Neal's running with the 3rd team. So you almost never see him. Like the 3rd team gets so few snaps that you'll have a hard time making the team if you're on the 3rd team and not getting at least 2nd team snaps at some point. So I can't even tell you an honest anything about Evan Neal and where he's at right at this point. Falele obviously is a John Harbaugh guy. He kind of fits what he wants. Big, physical. I mean, he's massive, by the way. Yeah, I mean, he's humongous. And Josh Azudu is playing as the 2nd team right tackle. Been mixed results, but again, I'm going to hold reserve judgment on the line. I think the big positive for the Giants is you have the 5 guys that on the 1st team are going to be the starters. They've spent time together, so they're building up that chemistry and familiarity with each other. And I can easily make an argument that none of them are, usually an offensive line has at least one guy who's a complete liability. Like John Runyon's played good in this league before. John Michael Schmitz has gotten better. Looks to at least be like an average center, right?
Sure, fair.
Like, I don't think they have that. And we've gone into seasons where the Giants have like 2 or 3 weak links on the offensive line where you're just like, man, they're terrible. Like, that's just a bad option right there. And I think to have 5 guys that at least the baseline is average, and then one obviously that is an all-pro caliber guy in Andrew Thomas. And if Maui Noah can get anywhere near there, I mean, you're in really good shape with the offensive line.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually their best line probably since I've covered the team, to be honest with you.
Nice.
We'll have to see them do it on the field. And you see that when they do run the ball, again, it's early because they don't have pads, but they've hit some big runs. Yesterday, Devin Singletary, I think, might have had hit a 60-yard, 70-yard run. I don't know, maybe someone chased him down, but yeah, no, like they could have hit some big runs early in camp here, I think. So I think there's promise there with this running game. Obviously, going to be a lot of pullers, tackles, guards all over the place. You see a lot of that. And I think that's where you'll see the biggest impact of the offensive line is in the run game.
Or it's an indictment on the run defense again. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
True.
But Eric, you brought up earlier, and we'll tie it up real quick because I know I promised to keep you short.
Yeah.
But Giants fans get really excited about that, even in training camp when it's no contact on a running play like that. Because the last time they saw a guy run that long with no contact, he got tackled at the 10-yard line. So they get excited about anything that leads to that. No shot at Daniel Jones. Bye, buddy. So with that, Eric, I'll let you real quick because I want to let Jordan run off.
Just real quick. It sounds like Jackson Dart's been a lot under center, which is the change for him. But it also seems like in the pass rush has been at least the last couple of days has been an issue getting into his face. And so it's tough to tell what the receivers are doing right now.
And they also don't really let him run, by the way, which is very interesting. The whistle blows real quick. And that's obviously a huge part of his game. So,
right. Well, they may want to be trying to get him to stay in the pocket too. Yeah.
I think you're onto something there. Yes. That was the point right there. And John Harbaugh kind of admitted that in the spring that they blow the whistle real quick because they want that. They're working on he's going to, in order to get to where he needs to get to. And that's really what this season's about. If he ends up being a really high-end quarterback, this organization's in great shape, right? Moving forward because you have a quarterback. But in order to get there, that's what he needs to do. And they've been working on that with him under center. Footwork is a big thing. He talked about getting his footwork in the right place before he throws. And I've said this for a while now. The deep ball is something, he has to work on a little bit. It does flutter. And it's something that he has to fix. And I think that the footwork part of it ties into that as well.
And so tied with that, is there any, again, it's way early. Are there any receivers that sort of caught your eye? Some people have mentioned that Braxton Berrios has been doing more than they expected him to be doing this early. But is there, of this huge group of receivers they have in there, is there anybody that caught your eye early? Knowing that this can change? It's
clearly Braxton Berrios, by the way. And he's been maybe the best player at camp so far for the Giants. Every day.
Okay.
And he was even catching some passes with the first team yesterday, the last 2 days. He's made a significant impact. It's very notable. He's catching a lot of passes. I haven't added up. I'd be willing to wager that he has more catches in live drills than any wide receiver. Probably by a pretty significant margin. He's been consistent every day. And he fits something that they need, right? But we don't know what they think of him yet as a punt returner. That's the big part of it.
Right.
Sure.
Gunner got injured. They need to fill that role. The other guy who's also in that punt return mix, by the way, is Calvin Austin. He's done some good things in camp, and I think he's made a mark. It's been quiet for Odell. It's been quiet for Drew. They missed him a couple times. It seems like every time he's open, he gets the pass gets missed. It's not that I haven't seen him open, but there hasn't been a ton of connections there. Juju's been quiet.
Is that Juju or Odell you're talking about?
That was Odell. Juju's been pretty quiet. Slayton and Mooney have been okay here or there. They pop up. Neither has blown you away. But
Fields?
Yeah. There's a play or two every day that he'll make.
Okay.
Hasn't blown you away. I think his biggest contribution is going to be as a blocker.
Okay.
As a rookie.
Sure.
I mean, that's where you see when they're in like a package where they're, bigger and multiple tight ends, you'll see him pop in there with like the first team. But he'll get opportunities. He can make tough catches. And he's made a couple of them throughout camp. He also got one knocked away yesterday by Darius Washington. But yeah, he looks like he's going to contribute as a rookie in some way, shape, or form. Now, the whole Plaxico thing seems to be putting a lot on his shoulders. That's pretty hefty expectations, especially as a rookie. I wouldn't expect that. As a rookie, I wouldn't think you'd have Plaxico Burress out there. So.
All right, so I promise to keep it very tight. We're at that moment. We're actually a little bit past that. Let everybody know, obviously where they can find you, and then of course maybe what's kind of a schedule, what the things you plan on doing this week, whatever you want to share, and let everybody know.
Yeah, we got Breaking Big Blue Giants Nation show collaboration. Also, we're gonna have a podcast from here live middle of next week, probably.
Oh, great.
It'll be like a joint podcast with I think a bunch of different reporters. I think we'll have like almost everybody jump on. At least everybody who's here. There's not going to be a ton of people here by the middle of next week.
Right.
But myself, Pat Leonard, maybe Bobby Skinner, Ryan Dunleavy, Art, maybe all of us together. And then there's an event here Friday as well at Varsity, I think it's called, in White Sulphur Springs. So in the meantime, tomorrow's the big day around here. You know that. Because tomorrow is the day off.
Nice. Nice. Party Central.
So the golf course at the Greenbrier apparently has tee times from 8 a.m. to like 3 p.m. of all people who are here from the Giants, from media, players, executives, whatever. The whole lineup is Giants related. So big day here in White Sulphur Springs.
Nice.
That's great.
Well, if you get a chance to talk to Art, tell him I would love for he and I to make. I don't know whatever happened, but I'd be happy to make up with him. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yes.
Art blocked him.
You guys have boxed it out. Okay.
I'm in pretty good shape. I don't know. That might not. But yeah. So Jordan, first off,
I'm sure he'll have. No, maybe there's another alternative, safer.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Love the stuff. Keep it up, and love to catch up with you again real soon.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys. All right, have a great show.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right. So we Jordan Raanan joining us from ESPN. Really appreciate it, and yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. I couldn't help it. I really want to hear what Art's big deal. I kind of have a feeling I know what it is, but I want him to say it though. But he blocked you. I feel bad he blocked you, and that's because of me. So
well, I was afraid. I told you before we came on. I was afraid Jordan would think that my retweet of Jermaine and Luminor saying all ESPN reporters, whatever he said, stink or whatever, was directed at him. It wasn't. It was the national reporters. And for those who don't know, Jermaine was responding to an article by I think Ben Solak about Dart not doing well, and Jermaine responded to him saying he threw shade at ESPN reporters, and I thought it was funny. And of course, I think the ESPN network has gone downhill for years, and so I retweeted it, and I thought, oh my God, Jordan's going to think I'm talking about him.
No,
so no, that wasn't. It wasn't directed at you, Jordan. It was directed at the people on air at ESPN who I'm not very impressed with.
I really, it's kind of funny too, because years ago, to be in, I don't know how I'm going to say this. To be in a position that I'm in now, years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, because like I just went quickly through my text messages, and I found Jordan. I text him. I'm like, hey, bud, do you mind coming on? He texts me back. He goes, well, what are you thinking? I can find some time. So, we arranged it and whatever. It was cool. And I'm looking, and I'm like, in that list of people was like, like Leonard Marshall when the last time I talked to him, and I'm like, hey, we should bring Leonard back on. So I'm like messaging these guys thinking back to me as a kid, if I could be messaging the guys, it's just, I don't know. It's just a different world. It just is kind of cool to be able to do that. Anyway, that being said, he was cool about it. It came right on. We got a lot to cover. It's early. So, and like you said too, there's a lot of, I think let's temper some of this stuff. First off, if any one side of the ball wins all the time, it might be, kind of like, oh shit, we got a really big problem on one side. But you always expect defense to be ahead of offense. That's always the way it is in training.
It's always the case. It's always the case.
It's complicated. Number two, though, I kind of wanted to go back and forth because in the past, lots of times we were like, oh, our offense just looked great against our defense. And I'm thinking that can't bode well for our defense.
And let's keep in mind this time last year, we were saying how sharp Russell Wilson looked in camp. All right. So again, you got to take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. What do we want out of camp? We don't want injuries. Number one, we don't want to get anyone getting hurt. People have been dropping like flies around the league, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this, but serious injuries have been like to a lot of teams. The Panthers have gotten
again killed.
But there are other guys that have been, people have been losing rookies, they've been losing key young players. It's been scary. So it's number one, you don't want that. Number two, you just look for trends. So people are going to freak out. Jackson Dart didn't have a good day, or, somebody drops a ball, or somebody, something happens. And the thing is, it's always a two-way street. So like Jordan Raanan just said, well, there have been some big holes in the running game. That's a positive. But then us on the other side are like, well, we want to stop the run too. So you can always sort of pick a negative, but you just kind of look for trends. Well, one of the trends, and this is what I want to talk about, some of the things that caught maybe your eye and my eye, was Braxton Berrios. So he was on one of these guys that when I did my preview list and I thought, who's going to make this team? I'm like, how the heck is Braxton going to make the team if you think Banks is your kick returner, especially, and Austin's going to be your punt returner? Is there a need for Braxton unless Braxton does something on the field, and how likely is that? Well, so far, Braxton Berrios has looked like one of the best wide receivers on the field. Is that going to continue moving forward? We don't know, but it's just an interesting development that day in and day out so far. You've seen him make plays, and he hasn't really done that in the receiving game since I think he was with the Jets. So it's just something to keep an eye on. The other offenses, first couple of days there, Theo had a drop on day one. Theo had a drop on day two. So that brings back the, oh my goodness, Theo's still dropping passes, which is legit. We got to be like, hey, if you want to be a serious player, you've got to stop dropping passes. But if you've picked up, he's also been getting down the field on seam passes and he's one of the few guys making plays still, likely to, in the passing game. So that's the thing that you and I have talked about in the past with Theo is his game, the strength of his game, and what the Giants got away from last year is like send him on seam passes, use him down the field. And that's the kind of thing that if he can knock out the drops, that that's a positive development to see him making plays down the field. But on the offense thing, the one thing I wanted to get back to you on before I forget too is Falele. Yeah. He was at left guard in the spring. It looks like he's back at right guard. So that also combined with what Jordan was saying, Runyon's just entrenched there at left guard. I think we can safely say, barring injury, we know who the starters are going to be. Falele is now being trained, it looks like, as the primary backup guard. And everybody who's seen him in person, fans on BBI, reporters have said the same thing, that the guy is so big they can't believe how massive this guy is. That he's gigantic. And I also want to throw out thank you to the 3 BBI reporters, unofficial reporters, who have been reporting from camp. George, and David have all written about. Jers has been doing it live. He's been tweeting. He's been posting in the daily threads in BBI about what he's seeing live. And then the two other guys, George and David, have actually drafted reports from yesterday, both of them which were outstanding. And I linked to them both in the top of the forum and in the front page. But for anyone who wants to draft anything that sees these things in person, that's fantastic, because the reporters aren't allowed to live tweet right now. So we're sort of dependent on fans telling us what's happening until after practice.
It's pretty telling, I think. I mean, I think we knew it anyway, right? I mean, Evan Neal signing to come back here, there were still people trying to hold on to the hope of, well, Harbaugh and the Ravens at that time, they liked him coming out of college, and maybe they think they can do something with him. The fact that he's third team, and he was third team, I believe, right guard, which means if Falele's moved over and is now second team right guard, he's so far back. Stinney, I believe, is the second team left guard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I saw that he was
Stinney's left guard right now,
so
which bodes well for him too.
So Neal's, I mean, I think that's going to be good. You want to look at the mistakes draft wise for the Giants, that draft with Thibodeau and Neal at the top. Again, not knocking it at the time, because quite frankly, the fact of the matter is Neal was rated as one of the best tackles coming out. The Giants swung and missed on that one. And his time here, I think, is going to be extremely limited. Minus a couple of people getting really injured and he's just sticking around, I still think they would look somewhere else. So it's kind of sad to see, but again, that's a top 10, top 7 pick.
It's sad.
But
he did it to himself. I mean,
true.
I just want to react to this. It is scary to think that BBI does predate Twitter. But
That's true.
I'm having flashbacks this week with the training camp reports. It's just like Albany now. It's like we've got like people on the ground drafting reports. And I think you guys have seen, it's actually, in a way, it's a lot. Not that we don't get anything out of the reporters telling us what's going on. You just get a kind of a better feel when someone sits down and actually types up sort of a narrative. Even the stuff like what they see off the field when they, there were guys that had David had a conversation with Harbaugh and Shane after practice, and then other people talking about what's going on. And George was talking about what was going on in the stands behind him, which was kind of funny, and running into license plate guy who he said had nice hair. It's just funny, funny just to see the reports. It just gives it, and it's just kind of cool because then you can go back and forth with the writer, the author of the report, and he can answer some questions too. So I just thrilled that people are doing that. And if you do go to Greenbrier, I guess there's going to be today, and there's going to just be 3 more practices open to the public next week. If you post something, if you write something, I'll pin it, and people love it and they'll eat it up. So, it's fine. I saw a quick little, I didn't watch the whole thing. I just watched a little bit of it. I believe it's the Giants Nation one. Bobby Skinner was with license plate guy. Seeing the two of them sitting next to each other, it's kind of like Daniel Falele and Calvin Austin. I mean, I didn't realize Bobby Skinner was as big as he is. He's big.
He's a big dude. And it's huge. It's like watching an interview with The Rock and Kevin Hart. I mean, it was pretty.
Well, Jordan was sitting next to him. I don't know if you saw that picture where Jordan was sitting next to him, and Jordan looked tiny next to him. Yeah. I mean, and Jordan's not tiny. I mean, that's just how big Bobby is.
Yeah. He's a big dude. So it was pretty interesting to see that. So I think right now, one of the things I thought for a second, thank you for sharing Skinner 6'8". I thought for a second he was going to mention one more receiver, and I'm only doing it now just to kind of be funny about it. But there was the one report, and maybe you remember which one of the BBIers posted it, that Jalen Hyatt had a really nice catch in one. And
a couple reporters have said the same thing. Okay, that one of the catches of that day was Jalen. I mean, we got to give credit where credit's due. Jalen Hyatt had. I think he had 2 good catches in that practice, and one of them was like the catch of the day. That doesn't mean I still don't think he's going to make the team, but he did have a good practice that day. Yeah.
The thing that I think actually that works against him is Nabers being back as early as he is kind of takes, because again, Nabers is the outside guy, right? Hyatt's pretty limited on what he can do. He's not going to be your slot guy running. He's not going to be your third down 5 to 7 yards, picks up the first. He's just not going to be that guy. And he's really slender overall. So he's not big physical. So he's got to be more of the stretch the field guy. But if Nabers is eating up a lot of spots, I don't know where Slayton's going to fall in this particular thing.
Mooney and Slayton are the same guy. They're the same guy.
So Hyatt keeps going down the list. I don't see a path for him to make this team, even if he does well in the preseason. I mean, do you?
No, because again, to me, he has to get moved past Mooney and Slayton. So I don't see that happening. Right. And I've been saying that, and I'm probably wrong about this. I've said, I don't think Slayton's a gimme definite to get on this team. Most people think he is, but he would have to probably move past Slayton or at least be in that conversation, because again, they can only carry so many guys, and it gets to the point where who's going. So, for instance, say Berrios keeps playing well. Now you're starting to think we got to find a spot for Berrios too. And then in Austin, people have said Austin has done well, and Austin did well in the spring too. So you got to think people like Austin and Barrios, who are more slot guys, are going to make it. But then you've got your outside guys, and like you said, how does Hyatt fit in there if you got Nabers in Slayton and Mooney, and then Fields is an outside guy? I mean, so where how would, and he doesn't play specials, and Slayton doesn't play special. So I'm sorry, Hyatt doesn't play specials.
Right.
I just don't see a path.
And they're trying to build Dart up, right? They're trying to build him up to be more multifaceted in the passing game. So further down the field, other things. But if you look at a lot of his success last year in the passing game, early and then late, who was it to? Wan'Dale Robinson, running a lot of shorter intermediary stuff. And then later in the season, very late in the season, as injuries hit, Gunner became a guy that he looked to a lot under underneath stuff, crossing patterns. Barrios is that kind of guy. He fits that role. So when you have these bigger guys, more speed guys that can stretch back, Isaiah Likely's going to stretch back. That cleanup underneath guy that he's really comfortable with is really important. And I think Barrios can be that guy if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and this is the one where I stuck my neck out. And again, so far, it's not looking great for him. Not that he's been bad, but he hasn't been lighting it up. So it is interesting that Jordan did say he's gotten open. They just haven't connected with him. But after the first day of camp, Art Stapleton, I think, who does a regular piece after every practice, was very high on how Odell looked the first day of practice. The last 2 days, the defense has gotten the better of the offense, and there hasn't been a lot of connections down the field with the wide receiver. But as John Harbaugh said from the beginning, if Odell is going to be on this team, Odell's got to be more like Odell. Now, that being said, Harbaugh was specifically asked about Odell yesterday. And so far, what I've noticed about Harbaugh is he doesn't like to throw anybody under the bus, generally speaking. And he was very positive about Odell, saying Odell's got a very good chance of making this team. I think that's Harbaugh's way. I don't think he tends to, again, talk poorly about a player. So I'm not going to read too much in that, but he was asked about that. But I do agree that, Odell's can't be just a guy, or he's not going to make this team. So, and again, it's still a little bit early, but again, camp's not that long. We're going to be playing our first preseason game in about 2.5 weeks. So he's got to start making some noise. It's going to be the clock's ticking on that. So wide receiver to me is still a mess. I mean, not a mess. I don't mean necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to be, it's who's going to make the team, who's going to get the snaps. I don't know. Other than Malik, if Malik's playing, Malik's going to get the bulk of the snaps. I don't even know who the other two guys are going to be. Who's number 2 and number 3? I have no idea right now.
Right. And the thing, we talked about this. We talked about it in the last episode too. Is like, again, it's a really interesting. It's an interesting group from the standpoint of the bulk of these guys are probably not going to be on this team next year. The guys who even make the team aren't going to be on this team next year. These are a bunch of one year deal guys that are making up the bulk of the wide receiver group. And it is a jumbled mess of who's going to be what. Nabers being back sooner, assuming that it goes through the rest of the summer, fine, and he starts the season active on the roster. And that's, again, it's still a big if, so let's not jump the gun yet, but all signs point to that he's ahead of schedule, at least of what everybody thinks, and that week 1 is certainly right now in play. If that's the case, there's your guy number 1. So you got him.
Right.
Then number 2, I don't mean number 2 as far as he's going to play, but number 2 who's going to be pretty much locked in is Fields. You don't trade up in a draft. And
he's on the team. Yes.
So that's 2. You've got to assume Mooney is being counted on quite a bit. Like
you would think, right?
Because if he and Slayton are in a dead heat, which one of them has more experience in this offense and with the coaching staff? That would be Darnell Mooney. So the advantage to that piece goes to him. So if it's tied,
can I
please
throw something in there too? I'm sorry, because before you move on to the next receiver. So again, people know this. I look for trends. So Mooney has not been in spring. Mooney's name never came up. He had a big play this past week, but what was interesting to me was there was one practice where he was Dart's favorite target. So a couple of people said he had 4 of the catches that Dart completed that day. So that's what I look to. So people are going to say, well, we haven't heard a lot of things from Mooney. The Giants have been throwing a lot of short stuff and medium stuff in camp, and Mooney's been getting a lot of those catches, but those aren't the kinds of the ones that you're going to see a tweet about. So Art Stapleton and Jordan Raanan aren't going to say, Dart just completed an 8-yard pass to Mooney. That's not going to make a tweet. But when you see at the end of the day, they say, well, he threw 4 or 5 times to Mooney. That's what you look for. So I wanted to interrupt you there. So please. Seems to suggest there is a little bit of a connection between Dart and Mooney right now. So let's just say Mooney's probably so far early, based on the early returns, is in the conversation. Sorry. I wanted to just throw that.
And to answer the question in chat, Calvin Austin only has 1.5 guaranteed. So there's nothing here that the Giants can't just jettison Calvin Austin. They could jettison Mooney. Any of these guys could be jettisoned and have very little impact overall on the Giants cap for this year. So that won't come into play. Go ahead.
But Austin is a guy that's been consistently since the spring, people keep mentioning, and Jordan just did.
Oh, sure.
Not that he's been fantastic, but they just say, they're throwing him to a lot. He's getting open. So, and I just saw Spy Smasher say there's no way Berrios and Austin both make it. I didn't think so in my preview. That's why I had Berrios not making the team. But what if Austin and Berrios are clearly 2 of the best receivers on this team? Then I think, there is a path for them. So,
but I also think you are in a position. Like I think you're in a position to just let some guys go and throw them back on the practice squad. If they were in super demand, somebody would have gobbled them up already. You know what I mean? Like would have gobbled them before the Giants gobbled them up because they got their league minimum guys for the most part. But you're not wrong though, right? That's the weird thing about it. I do think size is going to separate some of it. They seem to really want to be big. That seems to be very important. And Calvin Austin is the antithesis of that. He is not big.
He's like a poor man's version of Wan'Dale. He's a poor man's version of Wan'Dale Robinson, basically. And honestly, far less production. Like Wan'Dale Robinson has been way more productive in his short time in the NFL. Yes. And that includes having an ACL injury his rookie year. Right.
So there's a lot. We're counting on guys that have been bit parts in other places. Darnell Mooney has been a starter in other places, but has not been a star. He's just been a starter.
Right.
Everything rides on Malik Nabers being really good. Then the mix of other stuff, Isaiah Likely. It's still possible the Giants look for a veteran receiver from another team that gets let go, and they go, that guy could work here. I just think right now, though, unlike last year and the year before, the roster churning that happened almost weekly. And I got to the point thinking this is kind of a joke. They juggle things. As you brought up one point, the Giants have a lot of money, right? They have a lot of money in terms of like cap and everything else. They don't have a lot of cash compared to a number of other teams. And they seem to be juggling that roster thing where they didn't want to pay the extra $250,000, $500,000, whatever it was that they were going to pay somebody. They would bring a guy up, use him for his 3 bring ups, and then they would get rid of him and bring another guy up. I don't think you're going to see that kind of usage this time around because that churning of the roster like that, it sends a message to some guys, though, that you're just using these guys just to be cheap for a couple of weeks and then use another guy.
It seemed like that. And we lost, who's the receiver went to Denver? Not that it was a big loss, but he went in.
Jordan Humphrey.
Yeah, Jordan Humphrey. How could I forget that name? He went on and he played in a playoff game for Denver. I mean, so I wanted to mention that the flip side of the wide receiver thing is something that isn't getting talked about a lot yet. And again, there's 2 ways to look at this because if it's doing well, you can say, well, it's because the other side of the ball is not doing well. So far, the defensive backfield seems to be holding up pretty well in camp. So the pessimist will say, well, that's because the receivers aren't very good. However, it looks like the safeties who I was worried about have been making plays, both blitzing. It looks like even though we have these rushers, it looks like we have a defensive coordinator who likes to blitz. There've been a lot of safety blitzes yesterday. Both Tyler Nubin and Javon Holland had sacks. Ardarius, I should say. Ardarius Washington has been making plays in camp. Jason Pinnock, somebody said was looking sharp. I don't know if it was Harbaugh or Shane. Somebody said, I forgot who it was. I think it was Harbaugh. But the safeties have been looking good, and the corners have actually been holding up pretty well. So some of this is tied in with the pass rush. Some of this, again, it's tied in. It's early. We'll see. But this was if you can go into this season and say the linebackers are going to be studs and that the defensive backfield can hold up and do a good job, our defense is going to be really good. And I know defense is ahead of offense right now, but I actually am optimistic about how good this defense can be provided they can stop the run, because I do like the component parts they have in the back seven. I'm higher on the defensive backfield than most, other than I'm a little bit nervous about the safeties. I like the corners a little bit more than most people do, because I think they're going to fit. I think we're starting to see that the coaching matters in the defensive backs. I think we're starting to see that. The other thing I want to throw out real quick before I forget is a few names that are going to be key to the Giants this year that have been making a little bit of noise. Darius Alexander made a play yesterday, but he's also been starting. He had sounds like it was a zone blitz where he was dropped in coverage yesterday and had a interception that ended practice that everybody says was a really cool athletic play. I've seen at least 3 days now Leki Fotu's name come up as being in the backfield quite a bit. And that's big, not necessarily because they need him to be a starter, but they need to have some depth on the line that makes it. So if Leki Fotu is making plays, that's something to keep an eye on. And somebody's name I keep hearing is Jack Kelly. Jack Kelly keeps getting mentioned here and there too. So those are three guys that are not getting a lot of attention right now, but just keep an eye on them because they're starting to used to steal the line from the Giants. They're starting to stack days now. You're seeing their names come up multiple times. And that's in addition to the edge guys, let's give it to Kayvon. Kayvon's practicing well too now. Burns is being a stud. Carter's having a great camp. And it looks like Arvil Reese is impressing people in coverage, which is something. So that's pretty cool.
It's interesting that linebacker group is going to be how they make up after the first six, right? There's the four starters, and then you get two other guys. What's left and who comes on? McFadden, Kelly, they're similar guys, not for any particular thing, but I mean they're athletically similar, size-wise, somewhat similar to each other. And they're the opposite of all the other guys in front of them, right? I mean, Edmonds is big. Reese is again. I don't care what his numbers say. He looks bigger. He just looks bigger. Yeah. And then you've got Carter. He's a little bit slender, but he's still not small. I mean, he's 6'3", 240 plus, depending on whatever you want to believe his actual weight is. You've got Burns, Thibodeau. Those guys are all bigger guys. And then Kelly and McFadden they're different. So I'm curious to see how the linebacking group makes up. The fact that the Giants are playing more three-man defensive line I think is important because we talked about it. Two is fine if you've got two monster space eaters and that's their job. That's all they do. Right. If they are somewhat of a pass rusher too, then you're making your linebackers have to confront offensive linemen further into the field versus coming forward. They're coming at them. That's really difficult. So that three-man line thing, I think Alexander is going to be an interesting guy to see. I saw that, and I'm glad you put it up there.
Right. We should not write off Saul. We should not write off Ben Sauls yet, like people were saying for good reason in spring where he was struggling. But we did mention earlier, don't write people off yet. And I wouldn't guarantee that we have our kicker on the roster yet. But for those who don't know, both Zaveda and Sauls have been hitting long kicks I think Salz had a 59-yarder yesterday, and Zaveda had a 57-yarder. If it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday to end practice. Only Salz kicked yesterday, and Salz was 6 of 8 during the special teams drills, and he was, I think, 2 of 2 during team drills, including a 59-yarder, and the other one was like 48-yarder. Zaveda did have a bit of a shaky day early on in camp. So this hasn't been settled. I think they like both their legs. I think we can see they both have strong legs. It's going to be the consistency. Anyway, I want to throw it out there because that, again, is the other area that's a little bit, it's not settled. Sorry.
Yeah, no. And again, as we talked about before, I still think that there's an eye elsewhere. We'll see how these guys do. But if the Giants truly feel like they are, interesting, because I want to be careful. I promised not to get to that, so I don't want to do too much of that. Giants in 1986 go on and win the Super Bowl. Giants in 1990 go on and win the Super Bowl. Both those years, they started with a different kicker on their team and ultimately moved on, right? I believe 86, I think, was it in Bob Thomas was the kicker week 1? I'm trying to remember. And then, because I think Allegri he came in later in 86. So I think
I have to go back. That I know a lot about. The 86 team is imprinted on me, but the kicking situation is not one of those. I'd have to go back. If you're going to ask me who the heck the kicker was in week 1 of 86, I think that's where my memory fails.
Same with 90, and then they brought in Matt Barr comes in later. And so they went the veteran route later because it was a little bit shaky. So if they truly believe that they are a team that can go further, I suspect that they're going to keep an eye out on some people, maybe someone that they might feel more comfortable with as a veteran. If you think these guys are just going to be the guy, if they show in preseason, they can kick some long field goals. They feel comfortable with that. They'll take a miss here and there, knowing I got a guy that could kick a 60+ yarder. If they're missing 40-yard kicks in the preseason, I bet you we go veteran before long.
But see what Jordan said, the same thing that I've been saying, doesn't mean we're right. But if this was another head coach, this would be a lot more nerve-wracking than it is. If this was Dable or Judge or McAdoo, we'd be like, what are they doing with the kickers? But right now it just feels like, because it's Harbaugh, you just feel that again, you brought it up and other people brought it up, not that they were perfect in Baltimore with their kicker. I mean, one of the reasons we've got Harbaugh right now, I think actually it was Tim who said this when we were on the other podcast. One of the reasons we have Harbaugh is because their kicker missed a big kick. But it just feels like they know, like Harbaugh's been paying a lot of attention. It was in one of the reports yesterday. I think it was David's report. If I got that wrong, there were 3 reports yesterday. If I got it wrong, who mentioned it? But he said how much attention he was spending on watching the special teams drills yesterday. And again, he's a special teams coach, and it's come up consistently in the offseason interviews. They've said Harbaugh's always in the special teams meetings, which are interesting because when you talk, because they say the same thing about the defense and the offense. So I don't know how he's in all these meetings at the same time, but everyone says he's everywhere basically, but he's always in the special teams meetings. So he's not just winging this. He knows he's not a dummy. He knows how important the kicker is. Again, he's here. One of the reasons he's here is the kicker in Baltimore missed the kick.
Good point.
So,
to Egan in chat, I'll just to correct you, Ali Haji Sheik was not on the team in 86. I did confirm Bob Thomas was the kicker in opening night in Dallas. Schubert was already gone at that point as well. I believe
Schubert was 85.
He was 85. He was 85. And didn't we also have Jess Atkinson at the same time?
Yeah.
There was a series of kickers
Atkinson
in 85.
Scored on a fake field goal against the Bengals, which was a cool play.
Nice
and Jess
call.
Atkinson went on to be a sports reporter in DC. I remember that as well, too. But, Atkinson, I remember. Schubert was funny because Schubert was the school teacher.
Yes.
And he was the one that he would, a substitute school teacher, I think, right? And so he was getting called between school and kicking for the Giants for a while there. So
nice.
Anyway,
so
is there any other? I mean, the only thing I want to bring up too again with Arvell Reese is we have not had the pads on. And so we have not seen him where I think is going to be his strength, and that is going to be against the run when he comes up and fills a hole or chases people down. I think it's going to be very difficult for teams to run outside on the Giants because I think the speed now at inside linebacker, you're going to see Tremaine Edmonds and Arvell Reese just beating guards, pulling guards to the spot and just, blowing plays up. But I want to emphasize again that play yesterday that multiple people who were there in person said the same thing. Odell was open. Dart saw him, and out of nowhere, Arvell came and got those long arms and knocked the ball away. And that's what you and I were talking about all during the past couple months since he was drafted, is it is going to be very difficult for people to throw over the middle against the Giants with Tremaine and Arvell's wingspans. And it was like everyone said the same thing. It looked like he was open, and all of a sudden he wasn't open. And that's the combination of his speed, but also his length coming in the play and pass coverage. And that's not what a lot of teams will have. And other quarterbacks are not going to be used to that. So we might get a number of tip balls that are up in the air and maybe get some turnovers that way too. I think that's a big deal because it was interesting. Everyone was like, how the hell did he make that play? And that's kind of cool. Now, if he can do that on top of the other things I think he's going to do, then we really got something.
100%. It's again, a couple of things I think too, though, that Jordan said, and we'll kind of keep this pretty tight.
Let's keep it tight.
It's kind of funny. It could be our calling card, and then like an hour and a half later, we're like, okay.
Well, we'll get off, and we'll get off in 3 minutes.
There we go. And I'm gonna update it because I was asked offline, and Eric already saw. There's a whole bunch of pictures. I'm gonna update you. My tattoo piece is done. At least this one.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna
your tattoo. I forgot
that's fine. That's fine. I'll do it in just a minute. Now I forgot what the hell I was gonna say. So I was like,
sorry.
Yeah, I'm so.
Do your tats.
Yeah, we'll do the test then. I was gonna. Oh, I know what I was gonna say about the whole. Jordan brought up the fact that the Giants are keeping Dart in the pocket and stuff, and that may play a role in some of the offense struggles too. Like they're intentionally trying to do certain things where, in another realm, he might be running away from it. They want to keep him in. So let's understand it. We don't know. I think Glenn Parker was on with us, and he told us sometimes when we do stuff. You don't know the intention of what we were trying to do. Like it's not always intended to let's just have it be completely successful. It's we're trying to make people do things that they're not used to doing to learn to do this. And so we know it'll have hiccups in practice. He goes, so you just don't know what the intent was of what they're trying to do. So if they're forcing Dart in, he's going to get passes knocked down a little bit more where maybe he might have run. And that's something.
Oh yeah, and I think that was the most important point. I'm so glad you brought that up, John. That was the most important point of a lot of good points that Jordan did make. But the most important one was his opinion / confirmation that they are blowing the whistle to keep Jackson, to force him to get out of his comfort zone. So people, again, there have been people who are saying people have been saying. Don't make Jackson something he's not. That's not the point. The point is if he can't throw from the pocket and learn to throw from the pocket, he's never going to get a Super Bowl. You can't just live throwing outside the pocket. Good defenses will take that away from you. So they've got to make him get used to throwing out of the pocket. I am thrilled they're doing this with him. Yes. And it's going to cause him short-term problems because he's going to be doing something he's not comfortable with. He may even take a step back this year. I'm not predicting that, but he may even take a step back this year because they're going to make him evolve into a more complete player. And I'd rather them do that now and get it out of the way in this season than have this be a problem in 2027, 28, 29 moving forward. Get this out of his system right now where he's got to stay in the pocket when they collapse the pocket on him from the outside, and he's got to make that throw. And so they're blowing. If that's what they're doing too, combined with him under center, you are going to see days where he's 7 out of 14 right now. So I would just caution everybody with that too. Sorry.
So I threw the QR code up on the screen if you want. That's our merch piece. I keep forgetting that we have a QR code for that. Okay, so with that real quick, because I mentioned this before, so I just thought I would share it because I have been asked. It was a pretty big deal, and quite frankly too, I'm going to tell you right now, dear God, does it itch right at the moment? Right at the moment, it's still kind of healing. So we're there. So I had this.
See a doctor and get rid of it.
Yeah, nice. Well, it came from the wood. So I had this tattoo, and I'll show it real quick. I had this one done way back in 2011, and I have regretted that date piece for a very long time. And my current wife was extremely not happy that date piece was there. So after all these years, I decided that I would finally get it to do a cover up. I showed you guys kind of so this is the process. This was the first time. That was the first piece that was done. So for those who know, no, it's not Eddie from Iron Maiden. This is the Hulk. It's the Hulk. It's a classic scene from a comic book from a number of years ago. This was the last one I showed you guys. This is the latest update. So in the previous one, real quick, I'm just going to bring it back up. You can actually still make out the 41, and the date is still kind of in there. So I was like, oh boy, I hope this gets covered. This was the most recent version of it, and this is the final. This is finally done. It's complete. So I got that tattoo piece done. I had that done on. So we did the show Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, I went and had that done. It was another 3 hours or so. It was a grand total of 10 and a half hours of work. But yes, finally done. I'm pretty happy with it. It came out well, so well that I have this tattoo here, which was, I had it done after my first neck surgery, and it's supposed to be a symbol of rebirth. I hate it. It looks stupid. So now it's going to be a Spider-Man spider logo, not the mask, the spider. It's going to be a giant spider. The webbing's going to connect back to the other piece. It's going to connect over. So I'm going to have that done. That's actually going to be, I'm going to do that August 21st. So,
and John's next channel now is also going to be tattoo advice.
No, it will not be. I won't give any advice. Do or don't do on your own. No advice from me. But do, if you are going to do it, do your research on who's going to do it. I found this person. She's been amazing. Ashley Henson Tattoos at
you just doxed to somebody.
But she's amazing. She's amazing. She was just. I looked at her artwork. She draws all the stuff herself. And you just really need to know and to see that they've had a lot. People who just flip through a book and go, "I'll take that." I don't have any respect for that. I'm sorry. I just don't.
I'm not a tattoo guy, but I would the only advice I would give is never get a tattoo based on a relationship with another person. As John just found out, you're going to live to regret it. Well.
I do have my wife's name.
Don't put your significant other's name on your body someplace, or it's going to come back and haunt you.
It better not. So if you do,
you could have told her that date was something different. You could have told her that date was the day that you got you rescued hostages in some embassy or something like that, or made up some story like that.
And so Eric's other channel apparently is going to be on relationship advice.
Yes,
and
yes.
to build it, you start with
Trust.
a lie.
Start off with a lie. It takes two to lie, John. As Homer said.
I love it.
One to say and one to listen. So.
That's awesome. So we will be back Tuesday. The Giants do practice today. They are off on Sunday. They're again on Monday. So we will be back Tuesday night. I think roughly we'll have to decide. We'll either do it earlier at 5 or it'll be at 7. I think we've said 7. But you and I will work it out between now and then. I'll post it way ahead of time so everybody will see.
So they're gonna, because we're gonna have to cover today's practice. There's one today. There's gonna be they're off on Wednesday. I'm sorry, Monday. They're off on Sunday. So they practice today, they're off tomorrow, and then they're practice. So our next show will cover 3 more practices. So it'll cover, because we'll be in the evening on Tuesday. So we'll cover Tuesdays and Mondays and today's practice. So
there we go. So
that works well.
Hopefully Nabers is back out there. I did see in chat people asking for Dan Duggan. I'll reach out. I'll see what I can do. He's busy and does have a bunch of his own stuff, so it's sometimes it's hard, but he's pretty good about it. So I'll reach out and I'll ask him.
Everyone has a podcast now. Everyone.
Yeah.
We should have kept ours going. We missed the boat. Everyone's got one now.
We were way ahead of the curve on that one.
Yeah, but then we surrendered to the ground. So anyways, it is what it is.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. We said we would not look back and regret. No. So we're where we are because that's the path that was chosen. So that being said, please like, subscribe. I really appreciate all the likes on the last one. Subscribes have gone up. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. B, you're not going to get spam from us or anything. What it does do, and Eric mentioned this before, is if we have something breaking and we come on, usually Eric will post something in BBI, but if we don't have time to do that, that's not going to get there. And plus, you have to be on BBI at that time to even see it. So if you subscribe and turn on notifications, when we do a show, the second we schedule it, it'll send you a notification. Hey, there's a show. So just letting you know, please, it's helpful to us. But with that, hey, go and enjoy your Saturday, and we'll catch you again real soon.
Hey BBI fans, elevate your style with the all-new Inside BBI merchandise. From super soft tees to cozy hoodies and mugs for your morning brew.